Welcome to the Doing Good podcast, formerly known as the Common Sense Steps to Doing Good. I'm Karen Phillip, a passionate advocate for doing good. I believe in the wheel of social impact that we're preached at too much and not enough time is spent acknowledging who we actually are. I've spent my career meeting amazing do gooders, and while their work is celebrated, their humanity is often overlooked. I created this space to peel back the layers, to share our stories, our struggles, our triumphs, and the secrets to doing good better. Welcome to the Doing Good podcast. Today I have with me my dear friend who has been kind to me for the past 15 years when I moved to Barbados. Even though I wasn't sure at that time that I was moving to Barbados, I just came for school. Let's welcome Dario Richards and Dario, go ahead and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So hi, my name is Dario Richards. As shared, I do a lot of things, but I think the two major ones would be I have a for-profit company called Inspire Leadership Solutions, and the goal of that is self-explanatory to provide solutions to leaders, specifically in the private sector and some government entities. And then we have a non-profit which is called Inspire Life Solutions, which specifically focuses on gun and gang related crime and trying to contribute to the reduction or the eradication of that in our country. But my background started with missions, faith based missions, which evolved into a passion for regional development, and both Inspire Leadership Solutions and Life Solutions were birthed just out of those experiences. So I think that's the picture of who I am here today.
All right, so let's talk about your doing good toolkit. What are the three values that guide you through while you do the for profit and the non-profit work?
Yeah, I think three core values for me has always been humility, service, and authenticity. I think these are the three things that have shaped me and by extension everything that I do. If I could tell you a story about about how, especially the humility part, because I think both service and authenticity are just the fruit of humility. A few years ago, I had started doing missions back then, but a few friends of mine, we decided that we were going to start, just going into Queen's Park in Bridgetown and providing meals to homeless people. And for multiple weeks, we would go, well, they would cut the breakfast, not me. I was just there to help serve. Early in the morning, before the sun rose, come out, guys would gather and we would just distribute. And by then, I had already started doing some missions. So I had some missions training, and I knew, man, you can't just go and serve, You need to get to know the persons that you are giving to.
Yeah.
The problem is that I was just too arrogant to believe that I already knew the problems that the men and the women who were coming had. So I decided that, yeah, you know the problems already, but proper mission training says that you must have empathy and understanding. So even though you already know Dario, you're still going to ask, right? So this particular day, we went. I'm always a big believer that if you can't partake in what you're giving to people, then you shouldn't give it. So I took some of the breakfast as well. I sat on the curb next to a guy, thinking I already know what his answer to my question is going to be. My question was, so what would you say is your biggest need? And to me, there are only a few things a homeless person can need, food, water, rehab, something. So I said, I asked, so man, tell me, man, what is your biggest need? And the guy said a friend. And when I tell you, it shocked me. Like in none of my deduction
Yeah.
of what this man would say did I ever think about a friend.
Yeah.
And he said he lives in Barbados. The guy literally said to me, if you don't bring food, somebody else will.
Yeah.
So if I want food, I could get it. If I want some place to sleep once I get to the shelter early enough, I could get there. But for somebody to take a moment out of their time and to stop and give me attention, I don't get that regularly. And I think that was a twofold lesson. Obviously, it showed me how arrogant and proud we could be. even in trying to provide services to others, but it also reminded me the importance of doing demand-based work,
Yes.
demand-based ministry, demand-based service. Meet the needs, the real needs, and not the needs that I assume that people have. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Listen, in teaching and you're trying to explain the need of a stakeholder analysis and doing a problem tree,
yeah,
and they're like, we know what the problem
yeah,
is,
exactly.
and we know what the solution is. I was like, you think
Think you
you
know,
know,
yeah,
and you think that, but unless you do these things and they confirm it,
yeah,
it's just an assumption, and that does not guarantee that the intervention you
yeah,
want to do is going to be
yeah,
successful.
yeah.
That is indeed. I do want to read to you. I wish I had dated. It says the High Commission and by extension the gospel is a complete story. It doesn't solely invite man into the kingdom, but it also teaches him how to live there. These are words from Dario Richards.
I was like, where did you get this quote from?
I wish I had dated. But there are ways that I do try to do my work by as well. But could you break down what you would if you could remember?
Read it for me one more time.
Sure. The Great Commission and by extension, the gospel is a complete story. It does not solely invite a man into the kingdom, but it also teaches him how to live there.
Oh yeah, definitely. I once heard a quote many years ago that said, "You are either a missionary or you are a mission field." And the idea is that you are either somebody who's taking the gospel, taking Jesus into spaces, or you are in need of it. So at every moment, you're doing one of these two things. And the big picture is that it is through the gospel in the Christian faith that you come into the kingdom. But once you get there, you still need this very same gospel. You still need this very same reminder that you aren't here because there's something good about you and you raised your hand and you were elected and chosen. It's that God, I mean, yes, you were chosen, but it wasn't that you were chosen based on your good merit. It wasn't that you were chosen based on what was good about you. So it was the gospel, the Great Commission that brought you in. But as you are in, you need these consistent reminders to be sustained in it and then see the responsibility of taking this to others. Right? And it comes back to that whole idea of just pride and arrogance that blocks that because some people come in and think they're good. It is my own doing, my own good work that has brought me here, and it is not. So it brings you in, but it also sustains and keeps you and drives you to keep doing it for others as well. So
So how have you seen that? I mean, I don't think Inspire might have been the most public chapter, but it's not where you started in doing good.
no.
So how did that quote, or how do you see that playing out in your life?
Yeah, so I started, growing up in church. There were always community based activity. There's always has been a culture, especially in our cultural context, of serving the poor and the needy, right? But I think the spark for me happened on a mission trip to Haiti. It wasn't anything divine, anything. It wasn't, hear this voice from God saying to go into missions. It was actually a friend, like just a good friend that I trusted. She said to me one day, Dario, there's this mission trip to Haiti. I think you should go. And I was like, yeah, man, I can go.
Adventure.
That's exactly how it happened. I remember I went home and I told my mother I was going to Haiti. And she said, Haiti. He. You hear what that country name? He. And but anyway, it worked out. Long story short, very miraculous process of me actually getting there. And this is, I believe, the summer of 2008, and I had the most phenomenal time. Right, and what made it so impactful is because by nature I am a communicator. I'm a speaker. My strengths are in the ability to communicate, to inspire. But now you're in a cultural context where they don't speak your language. And once the thing that you trust in is removed, then you have no choice but to find other means to effectively serve people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't trust in
Yeah.
yourself. And by doing that, I had this phenomenal experience of one, learn a different narrative, because there was this narrative about Haiti and Haitians, everybody voodoo and this. Like, no, that's not the truth. But also, it, I saw the tangible impact of authentic, genuine service.
Mm.
Like when you serve people from an authentic, genuine place,
Mm-hmm.
something happens. There's evidence of transformation. And then thirdly, I also saw the strength and power in community. And I think it's just one of those things that correlate with poverty. When you meet people who are in poverty, they seem to have a stronger sense of community than persons who are on the opposite end. Like you could go
Mm-hmm.
in a wealthy neighborhood and you don't even know who your neighbor name, right?
Yeah.
You could go into the most impoverished states and everybody knows everybody, who everybody's daughter, son is, etc. And it was there that the passion to serve in this capacity, to do this for the rest of my life, basically happened. Just a quick story is actually on my first mission trip to Haiti. I almost died. All of us. It was the last day, the second last day before we were to leave. No, the third, because it was that day. Then we had one more day that we would leave. And we were going, after a long time of serving, we were driving, heading to these waterfalls. And in the middle of one of the Marl Hills on the way up to the waterfall, there were 19 of us standing in the back of like a pickup truck.
Uh-huh.
Two,
Tap taps.
yeah, the top, two in the the cabin, and the truck. Like I think it didn't catch the gear and it slipped and
Oh.
overturned 15 feet into a ravine. Dumped all of us in. Like it was just with the grace of God that the truck stuck and didn't fall on everybody. And to the point when the UN came, when the UN heard and came, they came to the scene with body bags because accidents happened there before.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
always die,
Right.
and yeah, all of us survived. Some people had more traumatic experiences than others, but it was in the drive from the accident to the hospital that I heard this, like, do this for the rest of your life. It's like, you want me to fall off ravines for the rest of my life. And since then, this is from August 2008 till now, I have engaged in cross cultural missions every single year. I have not missed a year of doing cross cultural missions since then. So yeah.
And what does that look like for those who've never heard that term before?
Yeah, so from a faith based perspective, cross cultural missions is really just doing missional work, missionary work in other countries, other contexts. Started primarily in the Caribbean,
Mm-hmm.
then we would have spread to parts of Central America. Then I started serving another global movement, which had a more global mandate. So they started moving across the world, and we were collectively engaging in different activities which would be centered around evangelism, service, disciple making, and fellowship. Like this were
Okay.
the foundational
Uh-huh.
components. So wherever we go into, these are the missional acts that we're engaging in. And then that evolved into not just doing the mission on the level of serving, giving out stuff, etc., but it's also evolving to developing leaders and developing teams who we can then empower to make sure that the impact is sustainable as well. So that's how it kind of evolved for me. Yeah.
And then you were also a pastor at one time.
Yeah, and then I was a pastor as well, and it was intention, like um, being a pastor creates a tension with also wanting to engage in global mission, because a pastor is much more stable, much more, you know, serve the local community, serve the flock, etc. So it can create a tension if you don't have teams and you don't have understanding. So I never felt called to be a pastor, even when it
Really?
was I never pastoral ministry was never something that I felt called to. But within my denomination, when I came back, it was really the only opportunity to serve, like
Yeah.
in a traditional way. So I served in that capacity because I also saw the value that I could have added there. All the churches that I served, that I started on the premise of being permitted space to continue to engage in mission. I always knew it was going to be short lived. It wasn't going to be one of those
So
20,
then,
25
how did
year.
you hold that space? That even though it's transitional,
Mm-hmm.
hold that space of this is not necessarily what I want to do, but I understand this is where I am right now. Like maintaining the position, or I think in airport language is like holding pattern.
Yeah.
When you're just there on the runway, just
Yeah.
waiting for your turn. How did you hold that space?
Yeah, I think I'm a big believer that when God calls you to something, He gives you grace to do it. And one of the determining factors of whether I do something or not is if I feel or sense the grace to do it. And once the grace for it has gone, then I am going. Right? Like I'm not fighting, I'm not stressing, I'm not trying to, come up with my own ways and means, because from a faith perspective, there is a predetermined way in how this should happen. That's why we have the Bible. That's with the Spirit of God. We do this. So I always felt, even though it was clear that it was not something that I was called to do long term, that I always felt as though God gave me the grace to do it while I was doing it. And it was always very, like, if you know me, like, I think one of the, and I say this based on the consistent feedback that I get about myself, because I don't experience myself, right? People that experience me, right? Um, One of the most consistent pieces of feedback that I get about me is my authenticity. So what you see is what you get, right? That grows, but because I was always very authentic and real about where I was, what I felt, or things that God was calling me to, very, very aggressive, for lack of a better word, about being clear on, even in the pastoral space here, or the priority areas that I think I can add the most value here in, and then delegating and empowering others to serve in other spaces. It was challenging, but I also felt like I had grace to do it. And then I also had a family that I needed to feed. So, I can't start there coming, oh, you was pastoring for the money. Not only for the money, but that was part of the story, because
Oh, okay.
family got to live and eat as well. Um, so yeah, that's how I did it. And the moment that I felt like the grace for it had gone, the problem is, the same time I felt the grace for it had gone, COVID happened. So I didn't feel like it would have been right to leave in the
Uh
pandemic.
huh.
So the year right after the pandemic lifted, I transitioned out of pastoring and just continue to focus on global mission in that space. My health has impacted that a bit now. Kind of bit on a sabbatical, trying to work out some health things, but yeah, grace.
Grace.
Yeah.
Grace. I think we are a bit similar. We definitely both had experiences in Haiti. So my one is a little different.
Yeah, for love and ravines.
No, I didn't follow the movies. I got so that was in my chapter when I was doing accounting. When I think we need to go back. I wanted to be a missionary,
Right.
and everybody told me I couldn't be a missionary. And then they told me if you do the accounts, you could still like be part of the missions,
Why did they
right?
tell you couldn't be a missionary?
Because I require like a very strict eating schedule and
Okay.
that stuff, and I get it now. Like
Yeah.
I can't wing it. Life needs to be structured for my body to function. You go off the schedule, my body's like, so when are we gonna collapse?
Right.
Right. So I get it now. And so I got I don't even know how I found out about that job application, but I got a job in Haiti
Oh.
to do accounts. Um, and everybody was, why? Granted, oddly enough, my family was like, you're going. And when I came back, I was like, I am not touching accounts again in life. That is not what I'm called to do. I am called to
I knew
do.
this ain't third form in secondary school.
I didn't get my orphanage. I didn't get to be a missionary. But this, I'm sure it's not this.
How
It's
long? How long you were there for?
2 months. I lived there for
Two
two
months.
months in a house with only men.
Wow,
It was very interesting.
intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then on my last day, when we were going to the airport, one of the men, he had brought home a gas and didn't pay her. And yeah, they were fighting in the car while we drove to the airport. So that was also very interesting
Intense.
as a upright, good Christian woman.
Yeah, very different experiences.
Very different experiences. But I mean, I had some true experiences in Haiti where I knew the Lord's hand was on me.
Right.
I mean, this podcast is supposed to be about you, but I also have the experience of I wanted to go and do missions.
Right.
So I took time off from work to go to Jacmel from Port-au-Prince to be with one of the children's homes there.
Right.
I did not realize that Haiti had different airports.
Yeah.
And I went to the wrong airport.
Tough.
And then I tried to speak to the policeman.
Wow.
And he was not interested in helping me in the way I wanted help. And then a strange man pulled up and he was like, I know where you're supposed to be. And I was like, you do? And you speak English? And I got in the strange man's car.
And you got where you were supposed to go?
Yes, I did.
But there's one similarity. The first 2-3 times I went to Haiti, we served in Jacmel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It's good.
yeah. I went to Hands and Feet because the person who started it was from Audio Adrenaline, a Christian rock band, I think,
Okay.
from America. And so I knew the music. I
Right.
knew their music and being Karen, you know? Yeah, I went. I haven't changed because this year I went to Jamaica and I was like, I know John Mark Wiggins, so therefore I have to go to his church when I'm in. I followed the music.
Yeah, that's part of the journey.
Yeah, so I have not. Now that I say that, I have not changed.
Good.
I still,
Good.
I still follow
Good.
the
That's
Christian
good.
musicians. So yeah, even with that and having that life changing experience that we both experienced in Haiti at different times in different ways, and knowing the importance of staying and being in a holding pattern, it's not comfortable.
No.
It's not, and sometimes when you wish that God will rescue you in a certain way, and then He doesn't. Have you experienced that?
I don't think I have wished that he would rescue me because I felt like anytime that I felt the need to be rescued, I also saw how it was me that put myself in the position that I was in. so, I shared about this recently. One of the mistakes, the big mistakes I made when I first got married, is both my wife Lynn and I, we wanted to be missionaries, but we wanted to be two different types of missionaries. She wanted to be the migrate, live in the country,
Okay.
long term missionary. I wanted to be the more go, come back type of missionary, because I saw how missions, short term missions, served people in discovering their own gifts and strengths. So I wanted to contribute to the growth of the local church through these mission experiences as well. And I pastored two churches. And the first one that I resigned from, it wasn't like the second one where I felt the grace lifted. I thought that I had an opportunity to do missions cemented and clear. And I only realized that I did not have it cemented and clear after I resigned, right?
Ooh.
And at this point, we are living on my single salary. She came in, this is from Guyana. She's struggling to find a job. And that created incredible tension, like tension, difficulty, right? So when that scenario is created, yes, I want God to come in and rescue me out of this, but I also realized like, all right, Dario, you should have listened to Linda. Linda was like, Dario, slow down, wait, make sure this is in place first, and man, I got it covered, So my desire wasn't necessarily for me to be rescued, but another value that I have because the religion needed to function is clarity. I don't I prioritize being clear in my life, whether it be clarity don't means like everything around me needs to be clear and structured and step by step, but clarity meaning that I must be clear on what are the steps that I need to take, what is the direction that I need to take. So in that moment, I saw the sense of I had a sense of responsibility not to bring us out of this. Like is I brought us in here,
Yeah.
but the grace of God, how do we get out of here, right? And it was after like a year and a half, the step out of here became pastoring again, right? And when I was invited, I told two different leaders at
Yeah.
two different times, and they said no in the
Yeah.
jump because I was clear that wasn't something that I was called to until I felt like the grace of God on it to do it again.
Again.
And that's when I went back into it, and that is what then drove my life back to where we are now.
There's another
Yeah,
quote from you that I do think of, and that you just reminded me of again, that clarity brings movement.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think James Clear has this quote where he says, um, "Most people think they lack motivation, but what they really lack is clarity."
Mm.
And a lot of people don't act, they don't do things because they think that their motivation is low, and but it's really that they're just not clear. They're not clear on what they know what they want to achieve, but they're not clear on what would it take to get there. And because oftentimes the goal is so far from their mind, like if your goal is to make a certain amount of money or have a certain level of influence or impact, that's a distant goal. And if you aren't clear on what is the step that should be taken right here and right now, you can go watch Netflix. Because most people don't mind working hard. They got a problem working hard on the wrong thing. And that's where I am as well. I'm willing to work hard, I'm willing to make the sacrifices, do the heavy lifting, but make sure you're working hard and doing the heavy lifting on the right things, the things that are moving me in the right direction. And that's where for me that's why clarity is so important, and yeah, once I have that I can function better. Yeah.
But how is it that you find that kind of clarity?
Yeah. Some years ago, I came across this concept. I went to school in South Africa, and I was introduced to this idea of the compass and the clock. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that everybody needs to have a compass and a clock, obviously, in their life. Your compass talks about direction, your clock talks about decisions. One is driven by purpose and priorities, and I think that's where clarity begins. One, developing a sense or gathering a sense of purpose. Why am I here? From a faith based perspective, I believe that my life is purposeful. Like I was created to do a good work that was created beforehand. So before I was born, there was something that God see happening in the earth
Mm-hmm.
that would need it was a problem, it would need a solution, and the solution that God created was Dario. And my life's journey is consistently clarifying that sense of purpose by living, walking in obedience to what I believe God is calling me to, and then utilizing or seeing my gifts and graces emerge and how these things align. So, part of the purpose discovery conversation is about: is there a problem that I believe that I exist to solve? Is there a big problem in the earth that I feel a sense of calling to? I think my personality has to do with it as well. What are either the strengths or weaknesses in my personality? It gives clarity into what I should do. I believe that all of us, there's something in all of us that is easier to succeed at and to fail at. Like, if you send me to do accounts, I will fail. So I am clear that My clarity ain't got nothing to do with
With numbers.
numbers. All right. But there's another component of me, whether it be in the communication space, the thinking or strategic thinking space, that I think is very core to what I am called to do to solve this particular problem. And then purpose, my sense of understanding of whether it be where it come from and where it going, and these three things come into alignment. And once I'm clear on purpose, then I also want to identify what are my priorities in the midst of that. So purpose and priorities for me is the compass that gives clarity of direction, right? Everything about my life should be headed toward this core purpose idea and serving these priorities. And once I'm clear on that, then I can move to my clock. My clock is no. If I say that this is my purpose and these are my priorities, how do I now make sure my schedule reflect that? How do I schedule my time? How do I schedule my talent, utilization of my gifts? How do I schedule my treasure, my money? I think the biggest indicators of if you're serious about what you see about is if you give me your calendar, your bank account. If I could see these two things, I could tell you you actually
That is
is
deep.
prioritize. Yeah, those two things alone could tell me everything I need to know about you. And then I think also people talk about time, talent, and treasure all the time, but I think part of growth and maturity and clarity is also your thoughts. What do I give my thoughts to? Who do I give um, my gift? Whether it be wisdom or experience or what do I spend the bulk of my time thinking about as well. I think as a part of the conversation. So I think it's developing that idea of what is my compass, what is my clock, what is the problem in the world that I want to solve, what does my personality traits, my gifts, my strengths, even my weaknesses, um, how do those things empower me to solve that problem? And that was my sense of purpose, my sense of direction, that clarifies not just the problem, not just how to be utilized, but then the heart, the values behind it and me approaching it. And then using those things to design my schedule, what I do in my day to day, my decision making, my actions, what I spend time on, who I spend time with. I think that's for me. That's how I have been journeying in discovering clarity. Yeah,
I'm still, everything you said was brilliant, but I'm still stuck on let me see how you spend your time and how you spend your money, and I could
yeah,
see what is your priorities.
yeah, for
That
sure, for sure.
for sure.
Because those are the two things that we value the most, right?
Yeah.
Like I value my time is my greatest resource, right? If time is my um, greatest resource, then my attention is my greatest responsibility because I can't squander my attention just like I can't squander my money, right? If I have money and I got a wife and three children to take care of, I love to play golf. If I take my whole monthly check and only play, I squandering this
Yeah.
resource. But then they can come and say, "Oh man, my wife and my children are my priorities." But them can't eat, or
Yeah. Yeah.
no. Like if there are priorities, how I manage this will signal that, right? How I manage my time with them or with other things will signal that as well. So I think that's critical, important.
Okay. So we've talked about the cross-cultural mission. We've talked about you in your chapter of being a pastor. And I don't think we've touched on the sports.
All right.
How does that come into this
Yeah.
inspire solutions, inspire life?
Yeah. So the global movement that I started working with is called the sport movement,
Okay.
basically. But it's primarily a disciple making movement that uses sport as a tool for disciple making or community transformation. So when we started Inspire Life Solutions, which was focused on gun and gang related crime, um, the two primary spaces that we started serving was the school and in the prison. So we were doing some work in the prison even before we started Inspire Life with other
Okay.
organizations, but we continued to see just how much younger the prison was becoming. More and more
Oh, the
early
population.
adults, were becoming prisoners for very serious crimes. and we wanted to find an innovative way to further impact the prison population that wasn't just sitting in a classroom or sitting in a pod. So we we suggested this idea of sport for development in the prison, playing football. At first, it was a bit of pushback because even though it's not technically a contact sport, you don't want to play a contact sport in prison.
Okay.
At first, I thought it was because maybe the guys would be fighting, etc.
Yeah.
But then it was really more a health concern. Somebody get kicked too hard, break a bone in prison, the process.
Oh.
So then we came back and we said, we can do non-contact football. And so you can do non-contact football. So just give me the opportunity and we'll do it, right?
Yeah.
And they permitted us, and what they would do, they would get the group of the youngest and worst offenders, and they would send us to our program, and we would spend in a week. We would spend one day out on the yard doing football, and then another day in the classroom in the type of a group coaching comment session, really not debriefing what happened on the field, because we would integrate what we call experiential learning into the process. So you're not just playing for fun, but you're playing for development. So all of the drills, the function of the day is designed and set up toward a particular purpose, and then we would unpack it when we sit in the classroom, and it was phenomenal, and what made it so good is because the guys self corrected, or they managed themselves, because they knew if they fight, if they do the wrong thing, then the program goes. And
Ah.
they don't want the
Okay.
program to go. So they could be like,
Yeah.
man, behave, because they want to keep engaging and coming to the program. So that's how we introduced it into the local prison, but that's also part of the work we started doing across the globe. And then on top of that, helping to strengthen and develop teams who were in the space of using sport for development, sport for disciple making as well. So yeah, I used to play sport when I was younger, but because of just health challenges, I had to stop until I rediscovered golf. But That's how we use sport through Inspire. The program has been on pause. COVID actually caused everything to pause, and then in the aftermath of COVID, because of the nature of the prison, we weren't able to get it kicking again. But till this day, we meet some of the guys outside who are part of it. I've even get feedback from some of the officers in the prison who would have been a part and saw how it worked. So that's how we introduced it into the prison. It was fairly effective and impactful, both for us and for the persons who experienced it. Yeah.
Is there any opportunity to continue? But you also said it's a global
Yeah,
organization,
so
so.
the sport move is a global entity.
Uh huh.
So the sport in the prison was just initiative from our team,
The
our local
local.
team. Yeah, here in Barbados, through Inspire to get it done. So there is, I believe, there will be opportunity to start back something like it. But just making sure, just the coordination, make sure you got the right resources, both human resources, to be able to do it. But yeah, it was a really good initiative and program in the prison as well. Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Kainos Caribbean, a consultancy dedicated to helping you do good better. From grant writing to project management, Kainos Caribbean provides the common sense steps to turn your passion into a powerful, well run organization. We help you cut through the jargon to find the right path to creating real lasting change. Visit kainoscaribbean.com to see how we could help your organization thrive. I'm listening to the various chapters that you've been through.
Yeah.
Has it always, and I know you talk about the grace and leaving the pastoral chapter, but even like this sports chapter where you've been doing work in the present and then life happened,
Yeah.
how how was the transition? Do you ever struggle with feeling like I'm a failure because I haven't been able to maintain everything, or you go with the flow?
Yeah. So I have learned to go with the flow, But I also believe that life is supposed to become sharper, meaning that I think if you think about an arrowhead, I think that when you're younger you do a lot, but the older you become, you're supposed to get more specific. You know, um, so there's a tension between, by nature as well. I'm not a finisher. I am
Oh,
not. I am not a. You know, there are some people whose personalities are built to complete things, see
yeah.
it all the way through. I'm not that guy. I will actually disrupt one idea with another idea in the middle of the idea. Like that's my
Okay.
that's my nature,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So pivoting is not difficult for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Finishing is the difficulty. So what the transitions have forced is for me to identify what are the things I actually want to finish. And then once I was clear on the things I actually want to see through to the end, then how do I sharpen my life to spend 90% of my time just doing those things? So the pivots have caused me to fast track focus, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
I gotta make sure that again that I'm clear on what I am supposed to be doing, raise the volume on those things. I see a lot more no's to the things over here. I don't say no to everything, but I want to become sharper. And then building teams and putting the right people around me who actually helps me to finish. So the biggest learning curve in the transitions for me has actually been identifying the things to finish and then becoming more committed with a strong team to seeing these things through. And that's what pivots have been doing, helping me to be sharper.
This is
Yeah.
like the second or third time you talked about communities.
Oh
So
yeah, for
let's talk
sure.
about your community. How has your
Man.
community shaped you in your doing good?
Yeah, my life is a product of community. Everything good that I have, or everything that I have that is worth having, came as the product of community. I believe if I track all the pivotal moments in my life, coinciding with a pivotal moment was a pivotal person. Pivotal moments are shaped by pivotal people. So I have always valued community. My wife is the product of being a part of a particular community.
Okay.
The gifts that I have, I told you, I discovered missions because a friend told me.
Yeah.
I discovered the ability to speak because the community asked me, invited me, and gave me space to grow in that. I discovered a passion for leadership because a friend of mine, he was the student body president when I was at college. Um, and he invited me to go with him to a Miles Monroe conference. And it was while at the conference that the passion it sparked,
Mm-hmm.
not just to be a leader, but to serve leaders, to how do I become a leader of leaders, which is a different type of leadership,
Yeah.
right? All of that is a product of having people in my community who see value, see potential, and open doors or invite me into spaces that I would have never walked in if not for the invitation. So my community has been phenomenal, and to me, I value the people in my space, and at the same time, I'm a skeptic. So I
How does
am
that work?
or how that has worked is that I am you you don't get into it easily,
Mm-hmm.
right? But that doesn't. I am also not the type of if you're not in my community, we can't connect or we can't chat. But
Oh,
when
okay.
it comes to like the space of the depth of whether intimacy or vulnerability that
Mm-hmm.
really leads to change and transformation, then I'm very skeptical about other people coming in here because of how authentic I want to be. I gotta make sure that I am around people that I could trust. That I know don't have ulterior motives. That I know have my best interests at
Mm.
heart, and that can be a crowd.
No, no, no,
and
no, no.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
very few people, right? And then I place incredible value on that. So yeah, community is huge, massive for me. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, I know we spoke about all the macro things you're doing, and you talk about community and that these opportunities only exist because others gave it to you. Do you see yourself in a space where you give opportunities for others, and
Oh, for sure.
how does that work?
Yeah, I love to see myself as a premium gas station. So I say that meaning that now I'm much more selective about who I do it with, but I mean that from the perspective of if you are in my space, that I must add value to your life. Like is a like especially if I invited you into my space. It's different to if I stumble or we meet somewhere. But if it is that I am going to intentionally give my time, like we schedule a
Yeah.
meeting to sit down and have a chat, right? I am going to be intentional about adding value. Um, and once I am in the space of ensuring I'm adding value, part of the value add is also finding, supporting people in opportunities. If I can open the door myself or know somebody who could open the door for them, I think that's a huge component of my life purpose, right? I think that whether it be from a mentoring, discipling perspective, or simply from being a lover of people development. I love to see people, like thriving. I love to see people. The heart of Inspire is helping people to fulfill purpose and maximize their potential. I believe in the maximization of potential. I believe that if you have capacity to do something, that you should make all effort to do it to the best of your ability, to be so good they can't ignore you. And if I can be a contributor to that, I want to contribute, right? That's my nature, right? When I was younger, I was much more inclined to give unsolicited advice or, like
Yeah,
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 you should do
yeah.
that. You should, no, I'm much more intentional about, who I engage on that level, because one of the things you will know about our space is a huge component of transformation is people actually wanting transformation.
Yes.
Like you could do
Everything.
everything, but if somebody doesn't want it, then So, but yeah, I'm a huge believer in adding value, and sometimes that value add is creating platforms or creating spaces for others to thrive. So yeah.
Definitely. And I did read that book recently. So that's why I smiled. So
Yeah.
good that they can't
So yeah,
that
fam.
they can't ignore. It's
Hmm.
called Newport, I think.
Yes, Cal Newport.
Yes,
Hmm.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. It was. I mean, it's funny how nobody reads or looks at things at a neutral point. You always read at it from your point, like
Yeah.
point of view. So while it is a career guidance kind of book, I was just seeing all the resource mobilization tips in it, and the clarity and ensuring like that you are aligned,
Yeah.
because it talks a lot about alignment in it,
Yeah.
and making sure that
Yeah.
you are willing to stretch, and
Yeah.
in that stretching ensuring that your systems could can manage
Yeah.
the growing in
Yeah.
it. So
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, man. I, and I love it because we live in a cultural context that think a lot of people think they can't thrive if they don't receive favors. So like you hear language like, oh, you need to have a friend, and you need to have this, you need to, know this body. But then there's something that once you accumulate enough evidence, is undeniable. Like they can't look at you and go, she's not good, or he's not good. It's undeniable, right? And I'm not saying that having a friend or uh, somebody open the door for you or experiencing favor is wrong. By all means, fam, I love favor. I love having a friend. I love having an open door. But that does not give me the right to delegate away the responsibility for me perfecting and growing in my space and
And
making sure that I am so good at it.
what does that look like?
Yeah, well, for me, my I did a a strength finders test. All of my core strengths sit in the space of communicating and strategic thinking. So I always tell people all of my skills are above my shoulder. I tell my wife all the time, call the plumber. call whoever, cause if I come, I gonna make it worse. You
Yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah.
So for me in that space, I am a big believer. If you wanna grow in something, break it into all of its parts.
Mm-hmm.
Break it into all of the components that make it worse, and then perfect each part. All right. So if I am a communicator, break communication into all the parts that make effective communication. How do you grab a person's attention is a huge part of communication. Perfect that. How do you communicate in a manner that keeps attention? Perfect that. How do you communicate in a manner that gives somebody something tangible to walk away with? Perfect that. Those are three different components that require three different types of skills, right? And once I break my particular skill or my strength or my whatever it is I'm doing down to its parts, then I can see the pieces that I need to focus on in order to grow in that space. And that's how I have always seen it, right? So I have always been very intentional about once I realizing I have a strength or a gift or I'm working in a space, how do I become so good at this thing? Because I don't I we com we compete either way, but I don't think competition because in my mind, the lane that I want to run in, nobody else can run in this lane. Like this lane for me. Like you may think you're competing with me, but me and you playing two different games, right? Me and you, we not running the same race.
That's because you're grounded in the purpose. What you
Grounded
talk
in
about. Uh-huh.
purpose, grounded in identity, but also the game that I am playing is really focused on the maximization of my potential as opposed to how many wins I could get over you. So my focus is on, an example
Your
would be
focus is on being the best Dario.
being the best Dario. That's my game, right? And in me playing that game, I give an example. Like let me use the podcasting. Say that I start a podcast, right? And and in the podcasting world, some people may say, okay, we can compete. Like, put out better podcast than Karen and better podcast than Dario. In that person's mind, the competition may just be on views, right? How do I improve my marketing, etc. In my mind, the competition is on how many reps can I put in and improve the quality of each rep. So you're playing the week by week competitive game. I am playing the can I do 100 of these and do 100 everyone better than the last one. Like my celebration is you. We did that so these questions were so much better than the and in that process, competition is happening obviously because we probably competing for the same type of attention.
Yeah.
But if it is at on the 23rd post, it get less views than yours
Yeah.
and I don't go, oh man, so and so getting more than me. No, because that's the game I playing. Like the
Mm-hmm.
game I playing is the improvement of these on the way to a certain number. And that's how I just feel about my own gifts and strengths and skills. How do I maximize them? Because once I maximize them, once I become so good at them, um, and my measurement of good is the value add. Once I become so good and consistent at whenever people hear me speak, whenever I am invited into a room, that value is added to an individual's life, then people can keep inviting me into rooms because I ain't there for my own, to stroke my own ego or just to talk all over my face. Like, okay, the conversation becomes if we invite Dario, then we know that there will be value.
Yeah.
That's why pursuing.
As you're pursuing.
Not if I invite Dario, then we know we will have a good time. Hopefully, we get a good time too.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
they're different games. So that's how I think about it. Yeah.
So I find that do-gooders have a hard time celebrating themselves
Mm,
and accomplishments. And you just talk about, I'm not competing with nobody. I'm just
yeah.
working on me and being the best me. But do you ever,
Yeah.
are you able to celebrate
Of
yourself?
course.
Oh,
That's
oh
a
wow.
massive celebration. You see, because even when they say I don't compete with others, it doesn't mean that I don't have insecurities,
Yeah.
or it doesn't mean that I don't think about the market or where I'm in. Right? That's not what that means. But because I am, like I always say, one of my greatest strengths is an acute awareness of my weaknesses. I am very clear on Dario, right? And because I don't take Dario that seriously, if I feel I don't drop into, oh my god, Dario,
Well, that's where we're opposite.
you're so terrible. You so because the fact that I had a win, like if you know me, I had a win. Like I actually did something well. Fam, we gotta get cheesecake. We got celebrate. As a matter of fact, I think I celebrate too much sometimes. So I started trying to do this habit that I learned about attaching things that I want to like victories. So like I can walk into a store. Oh, I love these shoes. I can buy these shoes. But no, how do you not buy these shoes until you hit a goal or something? Because I would just buy the shoes because I want the shoes,
Yeah.
right? So I started trying to adopt this mindset. But me celebrating is because I so aware of my capacity to also feel. Like I know that if not for the grace of God, if not for discipline, if not for intentionality, my natural inclination might not be success. I will burn it down. I don't need help. I will destroy it. I will tear it apart. So when I am winning, when I am staying on path, when I am, having an impact, you can pause to celebrate. And if you're around me, gonna drive you into the celebration too. Right? Like how what you win? Like that's fam, where we eating this cake? Where because a lot of the victories we experience aren't they don't come easy. They don't come just by waking up. Like you
Yeah,
had to
but
put in effort.
you feel like you were supposed to achieve it.
Yeah, but that's all right. That's okay. Right? But the other side could have been the same. Something could have gone wrong. You could have um, given up in the journey. So many things could have happened that could have hindered or stopped this particular thing from happening, and the fact that it is happening, celebrate it. Yeah. So I ain't saying no like you gotta celebrate every single thing because then you gotta devalue the
Yeah, yeah,
celebration.
yeah, yeah.
But I think that celebration is you see like how we just talk about evaluation and feedback and what we're doing like
Yeah.
as you will know in your space how important monitoring evaluation
Yes.
is to growth and development. I believe celebration is as important as M&E because it drives morale, it drives inspiration. Whether you celebrate by yourself or with a group, it contributes to me wanting to get up and do it again. I want to chase that, so I have never had a problem celebrating me or others because you know how to do it. All
Okay.
right, and I got a life threatening disease. Like I don't know how much longer I have. So at every opportunity, you give me an opportunity to dress up and celebrate, I taking it. Yeah. And if you don't give me one, I
I
create
still
one for
get.
myself. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
need help.
yeah.
Yeah, go carry myself on the day. I order tell people they celebrate and get the sparkly candle myself. So I think it is celebrate you, but also celebrate others. But I think at the heart of it is just not having like not take yourself so seriously. Like you are just as inclined to feel like leave most of us to ourselves, we will be destructive. We will tear it all apart. So the fact that you're getting up, the fact that you're driving, the fact that you're hitting goals, the fact that you climbing whatever ladder that you succeeding in your space, don't take that for granted because life could look very different to you. You could have decided this morning you staying in your bed, or you and Bridgerton come out and you can binge watch Bridgerton and you ain't doing no. You said no. You got up. You got it done. It's worth recognizing celebration is forced the reflection that we need to remind us that we could get things done. Alex Hormozy has this quote where he says that confidence does not come by repeating affirmations in the mirror, but by collecting a body of irrefutable evidence that you are who you say you are. Life is about evidence. When I celebrate, I'm celebrating the evidence that Dario who he says he is. I can do that celebration publicly, I do it privately. But best believe we can have a party. Yeah.
But how does that come together, and especially in a Christian space, when they always talk about humility and not speaking of yourself and not thinking of yourself any more than others? How do you see that as not contradictory, but instead complementary?
Yeah, because I think that's a poor definition of humility. I think I think at the heart of humility is seeing myself in light of God. Right? So realizing that everything that I have, everything that, especially everything good that I have, is the product of God. It is the favor of God. It is the only thing I brought to the table was faith, and God gave me everything else. And part of what God gave me is also identity. Right? Part of the gift of God is that I am a child of God. I am his workmanship. So for me, humility is continuing to see myself in light of him, which means that I can never think highly of myself. I can never think that I am so important. My ego can never be so huge to think that I am the one who have done this and caused this. Like, for me, that's humility.
Yeah.
Receiving and living out the identity that he has given me, right? And once I authentically live that out, I realize in light of that my actual nature is to go off course. like I am bent to go off course, right? I am bent to be selfish. I am bent to be angry and to be bitter, in the light of life. So when I think about humility, that's how I think about it. How do I receive the identity that I find in Christ and model that in every area of my life? And part of that is expressed through serving, not
Yeah.
thinking. When it says don't think too
Too
highly of
high. Yeah.
myself, is me acknowledging that I ain't better than you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
both of us are in need of God's grace, and furthermore, I don't know you problems. And you will be here all cute and you got more problems than me. Or I got more problems than you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And my humility is recognizing that there's nothing that makes me superior to you. Right? So in light of that, I am celebrating one, the grace and the goodness of God, always being careful to make sure that I give honor to where honor is due, but also recognizing that especially in Christianity, they teach humility. Sometimes like we should just be walking around with your face bent and you can't have fun. And no, like that ain't what I'm here about, right? I don't believe that's what God
And you shouldn't
instructed
get
either.
paid to do good.
Uh, that's another podcast. So yeah, so that's how I see it. Yeah,
Okay. You mentioned twice about a life-threatening illness.
yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about that, what it is, and how does that encourage you, or how does that shape how you do good?
Yeah. So I have sickle cell
Okay.
anemia, sickle cell disease, and now 35 years old now. So I born with it. Over the years, it just brings the wear and tear on your body, and and because it's a blood disease, there are a million things that could trigger it and a million complications that can come out of it. So when I was much younger, I had this years ago. I had Googled the life expectancy with somebody with sickle cell. I think it's like 40 or something. So
Oh,
I,
okay.
I think it has like some recently, like the oldest person with sickle cell and Barbados died, they were like in their late 60s. And the
Okay.
science has evolved. I don't have
Yeah.
that perspective anymore. But what it did, it I think it fast tracked my sense of purpose and focus, because I literally live with a voice in the back of my mind that you don't know how much time you have,
Yeah.
or you might not have as much time as everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure that you use the time that you have wisely,
Yeah.
right? Make sure that, and again, this is where clarity is so important for me, right? Because I can't afford to give my time to things that are not meaningful,
Yeah.
are not purposeful. I can't afford, like, somebody else may be able to waste their time for 5 years, 10 years on something, stop and start over. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I got the time to do the stop and start overs. That's why
Yeah.
the things that I do and I commit to are so important to me, because if we are building, I believe, like, for this to crash and gotta start over, I gotta go through the process of wondering, is it worth it? Should I? Do I have time, etc.?
Yeah.
So the blessing of it has been, it has shaped my perspective on life, and it has made me much more purposeful, much more early. The curse of it is I wanna wish it on my worst enemy, fam. Like, like, so it creates this start and stop experience where you start building, you start growing, then you got pause. And it's the physical pause of the pain, so you're out for a week or 2 weeks. Then people think when they pain, no, your body got catch up. Because you go through a painful crisis, it exhausts the body. So now
Okay.
you need a week of recovery. And then
Okay.
between you get that week, now you need it's like, my years they're trying to lose 30 pounds for like 30 years, right? And then you start the gym, you get through, then you stop, and then like the effort it takes. Imagine that same feeling every time you get a sickle cell crisis.
Yeah.
The mental weight of having art again, I can shake it off, I can get up, again. So it brings this weight of an extra. You need an extra level of drive to just say, you know what, I can just keep moving.
Yeah.
If I got crawl, if I need, call to friends to lift me up and carry me, because if you don't have that, it's so much easier to just submit yourself to it. And just with it away, I think the value or what it has shaped for me is, as I said, that level of focus, but also just my determination to keep going in whatever space that I choose. So I find my life is becoming more focused now,
Yeah.
but it is more focused in a purposeful way.
That is truly inspiring how you have used this to fuel your passion to continue to do good in spite of the life challenges that you're currently facing. All right. I want to thank you so much, Dario, for being here with us today. And your toolkit, definitely humility, service, and authentic living, and the importance of it in doing not just regional doing good, but global doing good. And it's always very rare to hear about Caribbean missions. So keep up the good work, and especially all the good work that you do with Inspire.
Yeah, so thank you for inviting me as well. And as we discussed, I really hope to see you maximize your potential in this space as well. Don't settle. Be so good, as we read in the book, that they can't ignore you. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Doing Good podcast. If you found value in this conversation, please subscribe. You could find every episode of the Doing Good podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you get your audio. For the video content and all the show notes, including links to Dario Richards' work, visit our YouTube channel at Kainos Caribbean and be sure to follow us on social media at Kainos Caribbean to stay up to date on season 2 episodes and join the conversation. Until next time, keep doing good better. This episode is brought to you by Kainos Caribbean, a consultancy dedicated to helping you do good better. From grant writing to project management, Kainos Caribbean provides the common sense steps to turn your passion into a powerful, well-run organization. We help you cut through the jargon to find the right path to creating real lasting change. Visit kainoscaribbean.com to see how we could help your organization thrive.